Blessed to be with Daniel Cohen. I know you're from Israel, so what are your perspective, living in Israel, and I also how you became connected to Pastor Jack Hibbs and this network?
Well, that was a God thing all the way, being connected with the Real Life Network. I'm a Jewish believer in Yeshua, married, I'm a husband, and have 3 kids, and I'm just, my dad likes to say that I'm a believer cleverly disguised as a news reporter, as a news anchor before that, and now with the Real Life Network, there's no disguise at all. I'm here to tell powerful, truthful stories from the land of Israel. I've been living there for 4 years, came for COVID. We stayed for a war, obviously. October 7th was devastating, and we're marking now 1 year. And so I stand completely firmly on what the Bible says about Israel, and I encourage everybody to know what the Bible says about Israel and try to connect those things, because the news, the moment that we're living in, is a historic moment. And Israel is the epicenter. Ezekiel 5:5, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Jerusalem, I put Jerusalem at the center of all nations and everything else around it. Jerusalem is the heartbeat. Jerusalem is the middle of the middle. It's ground zero of Israel. And that's what my heart and passion is, Anthony.
What is your concerns about what's going on at the White House? What you see about the response to Israel? Maybe even the lack of response so often. Do you have any questions about what's really going on at the White House about this matter?
I don't know what's going on at the White House. I don't know who's in charge at the White House. I don't know who's ultimately calling the shots. But for me, my family, I live in Israel, so for me, we're in an election season right now where every 4 years we get to decide which direction the country is going to go. And my number one criteria is who is strong for the United States and who is strong for Israel. And there's an administration here that unfroze billions of dollars to Iran, and not months later, weeks later, Israel was attacked. And it's the number one state sponsor of terror. They fund Hamas, they fund Hezbollah, they fund terror proxies, the Lions Den, El Qassam brigades. I could name just the terror organizations. And so I look at this White House and I say that is not a friend of Israel. If somebody moved in next to you, next to where you live, and said, I want to kill you, I'm going to do it, and then after I do that, I want to do it again. I'm going to try to continue to kill you. The Hamas charter says no peace with Israel, and the leaders have said they want to try to wipe Israel off the map. They want to kill Jews. That's part of the charter. I don't think that's being a good friend, releasing billions of dollars to organizations that support. If it was your neighbor, they want to kill you. That's not friendship. On the other side, we have somebody who brokered the Abraham Accords, who a historic peace treaty that caused a ripple effect of peace in the Middle East, that moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and said, I recognize that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, the Jewish state, the Golan Heights, on and on and on. And so I see 2 very, very different roads. And so for me, who's strong for Israel, who's strong for the United States, I hope the American people choose wisely on November 5th.
You've heard of UNRA, that UN agency that came in the news a lot because Hamas being connected to this UN agency. UNRA stands for United Nations Relief Works Agency. I actually was able, in my experience in the White House, exposing that anti-Semitic UN agency, really training children to hate the Jews, to kill Jews. It is troubling what I witness, and I know you see as well, in policies coming out of the White House in support of, besides what you said about Iran, unfreezing assets that they could use to attack, but funding this hateful UN agency that is involved with propaganda and training children to kill Jews. And so
I'm not sure that hateful is a strong enough word. It's not just hateful. The UN, the UNRWA, for people that aren't totally familiar, and I believe your audience knows what that is, but for people that maybe aren't, this is the arm that is supposed to help Gaza civilians. They're supposed to help with food, water, with medicine.
Yeah.
They're supposed to help them out. And in fact, some of the people who are on staff at UNRWA took part in the October 7th terror attack. Israel tracked cell phones, and they could tell that some of the people that came across on October 7th from Gaza were also UNRWA workers. It's kind of mind-boggling. So it's not just that they were hateful. They're killers. They're murderers. They're terrorists. And the fact that the world still supports UNRWA and is still supporting people, again, it's shameful. It's embarrassing. And I think it needs to be many people, not just me, that say that. but there are people at the UN, Danny Danone's, Israel's ambassador at the UN, but other people who have a way larger voice than me saying they need to strip it down, they need to start over, they need to rebuild from the ground up.
But what are we facing right now with the election that's coming up in the U.S., the impact on Israel?
The impact on Israel?
The impact on Israel. The outcome of this election.
Of course.
How that's going to impact Israel.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're seeing an administration now that tried to openly topple a democratically elected government in the Middle East, right? Chuck Schumer came out and said that Benjamin Netanyahu had lost his way. Nancy Pelosi came out in opposition. President Biden at his State of the Union address this year said that he and Netanyahu were going to have a come-to-Jesus meeting. Why? Political reasons, which is, again, shameful and embarrassing. The fact that the United States, if they would just say, Israel, what do you need from us, and get out of the way, we would be done. I think the October 7th, Hamas it would be done. Hezbollah, all these things that we're still seeing, but because Israel has been hamstrung, don't go into Rafah. Israel goes into Rafah, it turns out there's Israeli hostages that they're discovering in tunnels in Rafah. You know, this administration has been hamstringing Prime Minister Netanyahu, but in the last few weeks, there's been a paradigm shift, there's been a change. What is that change? I think Prime Minister Netanyahu realizes we need to do what Israel needs to do what it needs to do to protect its people, to make sure that Hamas is never able to pull off or execute on October 7th ever again. Hamas has been decimated. Lebanon, Hezbollah has been hurt by that recent pager attack. They take out Hassan Nasrallah, biblical in its nature, the way that attack was, that was executed and it was carried out. And now Israel is turning its focus too on the Houthis in Yemen. And so Iran is exposed because these proxies are the ones that were doing Iran's dirty work. Iran was the puppet master pulling all the strings behind the scenes. So what happens in the days and the weeks to come, I don't know exactly, but I would encourage you to please pray for Israel, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and just pray that God's mighty hand, that He would. When I pray, I like to remind the Lord what it says. It says in your word that the Jewish people, that Israel is the apple of your eye, that you'll never leave or forsake. So I would just ask you to pray for the nation of Israel, and that God would continue to keep His hand and His covering there, and that the Israeli hearts would turn back to the Lord their God, and that when they turn back, and when you as evangelical community, Christian community, even when we turn our hearts to the Lord our God, that He would hear our prayers and He would respond by offering that protection.
Any information you'd like to share? Maybe a website for people to learn more about what you're involved with?
Sure, the Real Life Network. You can download the app. It's free. In fact, I'm standing right in front of a sign here. But the Real Life Network. It's called the Real Life Network, and great content there. Family friendly. You don't have to worry about what's on there. You know, if you have kids or anything, it's all. Amir Safadi is there. We're just, again, connecting the Bible, connecting the truth of what's in the Word with current events and what's going on in the news. Pastor Jack Hibbs, you'll get sermons and messages from him. But download that app today. You'll be blessed. Your family will be blessed. Thank you for taking that time to do that. And thank you.
Great to join you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you.